Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on Play on GAA. Today it's just myself, Seamus, again giving my personal reaction to the Armagh versus Tyrone game, which finished Armagh 2 goals and 14 points, Tyrone 14 points. Armagh making a real statement of intent once again. They beat Dublin, of course, last week, and now they've beaten the current All-Ireland champions Tyrone. So back-to-back wins over the last two All-Ireland champions. Can't really ignore that. Armagh looking very, very impressive once again. I mean, two first half goals. The first one came from one of the new men in for Armagh, Greg McCabe. He didn't start against Dublin. He came in at wing forward. Well, at least that was his jersey number. High ball in by Rian O'Neill, who did play deeper in this game, and he was more kind of a playmaker this time, while also kind of looping into the full forward line every now and then. Of course, high ball in by Rian O'Neill. Greg McCabe catches it, pretty poor by the Tyrone defender in front of him, but McCabe gets it, rounds Niall Morgan into the back of the net off the left foot. And Armagh were fantastic in the beginning. And I mean, they ended up a goal and two to no score up. And that was before Dara Canavan hit Tyrone's first point to make it 1-2 to a point. McKernan followed that up, Michael McKernan, that is, with a point from distance, a brilliant score from him to make it 1-2 to 2 points. Then just goal chances galore for Armagh. I mean, the first one came in 15 and a half minutes. Jarlath Burns, who's such a weapon for Armagh at halfback. I mean, his move to wing back has been an absolute masterstroke by Kieran McGeeney. And I mean, his powerful running just carves teams apart. He carved Dublin apart last week, and it carved Tyrone apart this week as well. I mean, he ran through, set up Stephen Sheridan for a goal chance, brilliantly saved by Niall Morgan. On top of that, Kieran Mackin, a couple of minutes later, he got a point, could definitely have been a goal. It was tapped over by Niall Morgan. On top of that, then Rian O'Neill, who looped back into the forward line. He wasn't out around the middle the entire game. He went back into the forward line, quick ball into him. He was out in front of his man, swung it over with the right foot. Brilliant textbook point. And then on top of that, McCurry shot wide. So Armagh are a goal and 4 to 2 points up here, and really, really showing why they are, right up there as one of the best teams in the country. And I mean, following on from this, obviously the frees keep coming. 1-6 to 2 points after Rian O'Neill free. On top of that, Aidan Forker and Aidan Nugent combined for a lovely score just before that free went over. Tyrone needed someone to step up for them. Paddy Hampsey was the man who did that. He kicked a brilliant point from the outside of the boot. That went over. That made it 1-6 to 3 points. Armagh were definitely the better side in the first half. And then as the half came to its close, they really, really turned the screw on Tyrone. Rian O'Neill, first of all, kicked a brilliant point outside the boot. Once again, out in front of his man, turned him. The ref gave an advantage because it was a foul on him, O'Neill, outside the boot, over the bar. And then on top of that, 36 minutes, Tiernan Kelly powers through the Tyrone defence, lays it off to Jason Duffy, who shimmies to the side Niall Morgan and slips it into the back of the net. And just like that, it's 2-8 to 3 points. And I mean, you're looking at that thinking it's a long way back for Tyrone. McCurry points a free just before halftime, and Armagh go in 2-8 to 4 points up at halftime, 10 points clear. I mean, very, very impressive by McGeeney's side. Second half, there was always going to be a pushback by the champions. They brought in Connor Shields and John Munro at halftime in the second half. On top of that, they brought in Paul Donaghy. They brought in Conor McKenna. So obviously they definitely went for it in the second half. But the reality is that Armagh's defence has drastically improved. And I mean, Niall Rowland at centre-back has really, really impressed me. Aaron McKay at full-back really, really impresses me too, as well as Aidan Forker. They look a lot tighter at the back there. And mainly in the second half, Tyrone did get some nice points. Niall Sludden and Kieran McGeary hit back-to-back points. And with a McShane free before that, that made it 3 in a row for Tyrone. That was 2-9 to 7 points then. Armagh, the rain noticeably got worse in the 46th minute. The conditions got a bit tougher. But the reality is that in the second half, Tyrone were very, very heavily reliant on Cathal McShane's frees. I mean, Cathal McShane hit, he had 4 frees in a row to bring them back. So basically before this 47 minutes, Aaron McKay managed to find himself in a ton of space. He was found by a brilliant pass by Rian O'Neill, and he slotted it over the bar, 2-11 to 8 points. And then the McShane free started. He hits 4 frees in a row to make it 2-11 to 12 points. Then a brilliant Jarlath Doug Burns point puts the gap back to 6 points. And they kind of trade scores. And then we get to the 69th minute. Key moment, because Tyrone have managed to kind of draw Armagh back where it's starting to get a bit too close for comfort. Blaine Hughes clutches up, hits a brilliant kick out to Rian O'Neill, who moved fantastically forward. O'Neill catches it, claims the mark, plays it down to Stephen Campbell, who is making his 101st appearance for Armagh, having made his 100th against Dublin. Stephen Campbell shows all of his experience. Brilliant point by him, 2-13 to 14 points. And then the handbags begin. And I've never, ever seen I've never seen this much punishment for a bit of handbags. A red card was given to Greg McCabe off Armagh. A yellow card was given to Aidan Nugent. And then 4 red cards were given to Tyrone, to Paddy Hamsey, to Michael McKernan, Kieran McGeary, and Peter Hart were all sent off for the one kind of melee. It didn't look like there were too many punches being thrown, but this is definitely a feature of GAA now. And I'm going to make another video about this, just a debate about, is this part of our game now? The handbags, the fighting, is this part of our game? And, where should it fit in our game? Because, well, a lot of people underneath it all would say, oh, we shouldn't want that. There's a romanticizing of, say, the Dublin Meath games in the 1990s that were full of fist fights and off the ball stuff. So it definitely adds to the drama and it adds to the tension of the game. But then on the flip side, is that the game that we want to see? So I'm going to have that debate on the channel. Stay tuned for that. But Armagh, following that, they kind of unbelievably, they were playing against 11 Tyrone men at that stage. And Rian O'Neill, was fouled by Frank Burns, and Rory Grugan taps over the resultant free to finish it off. Armagh 2-14, Tyrone 14 points. There's positives for both sides to take. Tyrone looked to have found an absolute gem there in Nathan Donnelly. He looks like a very, very promising footballer, but that's pretty much it for Tyrone. Armagh, there's a ton of positives there. I mean, in the first half, they were slicing Tyrone open at will. As I mentioned, 4 clear-cut goal-scoring opportunities. They took 2 of them. And their kicking all day was fantastic. Jarlath Doug Burns is an absolute gem for them at wing-back that they found him. Rian O'Neill at full forward just is in the form of his life. And they still have Oisin O'Neill to come back into that team. So very, very exciting times for Armagh. For Tyrone, I wouldn't look too much into this. I mean, last season, Tyrone were on the end of a hammering by Kerry in the league semi-final, and then we all know what they went on to do in the championship then. So I wouldn't look too much into this, but for Armagh, it's a massive psychological step that they got one over on their rivals, that it's a real psychological step towards getting back amongst the big boys and getting back at the table and becoming serious All-Ireland contenders once again. And I'd like to see them come back. I mean, they have a real swagger. They have great footballers. The O'Neill brothers are fantastic to watch. I'd love to see them compete more regularly at the top table. And I think with McGeeney, I think he's got it right. The backroom team there with Kieran Donaghy, Kieran McKeever, he looks to have got it right. And I'll be fascinated to see if they can carry this on throughout the rest of the league and at least challenge for the Division 1 title. It will be one of the stories of the year. So yeah, that's my personal opinions of the Armagh versus Tyrone game. Just to remember, just to remind you of the scoreline. It finished Armagh 2 goals and 14 points, Tyrone 14 points. Armagh make it 2 from 2, the perfect lead start for McGeeney. That's the end of my review of the game. Keep tuned for more content here on Play on GAA. Take care.